Wait, what? Really? Okay.
Okay, with your host, Loren Weisman.
This is a fully licensed theme song for the show about stuff that makes you say, wait, what? Really? Okay.
Okay.
This is Loren Weisman. This is Wait, What Really Okay? And for this episode, this is my brand messaging mission statement. Now, many of us remember Jerry Maguire from the mid-90s. It was a movie where, and if you haven't seen it, this guy comes out, he works for a sport rep agency or athlete representation, and comes out with this massive mission statement. The title on it is The Things That We Think and Do Not Say, the Future of Business. In a kind of play on words, but something that really makes sense, if I was to title my brand messaging mission statement, I would flip it around and call it The Things That We Say and Do Not Think About, the Future of Messaging in Business. This is a little different from most of the podcasts of Wait, What Really Okay if you've tuned in before. In this one, it's going to be rooted and grounded in my foundation, where I come from, why I see things the way I see things, and how I work. This comes through in my content, in the quotes with Fish Stewarding Group, with FSG Messaging and Optics, and everything that I've done to date, and what it allows me and what it makes me want to do right now. There are many people out there that just say, I want to help, I want to help, I want to help. Or I'm living my best life and you should do this. And there's that Richard Branson quote. I saw it again the other day. It really upset me. And this is part of the mission statement, that if you're not scared of your dream, you're not dreaming big enough. And not to be harsh and not to be hateful, but shame on you, Branson. What if someone is in a state of love, not in any kind of fear, and they're confident enough in themselves and in their dream because they don't have fear, their dream isn't big enough? Because certain people don't necessarily want a car that costs over $100,000 or 3 homes or boats, that their version of success or wealth isn't big enough? This is a key point of the foundation of what I believe. And at the same time, the type of people that I want to work with. And even if you're not interested in working with me, and maybe you just want to engage the podcast, my videos, my quotes, my blogs, FSG, you will hopefully, and that's the goal of this, is to give you an idea of the root, of the foundation, of the soil in which I'm planted in and what I believe in. I see a lot of businesses out there. I see a lot of strategists and coaches and consultants, and they will show you this clear path, but the path appears to be a funnel. I will do this, this, and this to get you here. Okay, how? Well, you got to have a meeting with us. We'll do this, this. You need this. I did this. A lot of the things from my past have nothing to do directly with clients in the present. Now, did they influence? Did they educate me? Did they allow me inside of a culmination of all my experiences, good and bad, to be where I am now? Absolutely. But I'm also someone that's not going to sit there and brag about how many books were sold, how many albums I played on, how many people I've spoken in front of. That to me is secondary. That's ego. And when we have to present in ego, my belief is we're making up or we're sitting in fear. So here are a couple of the touch points. Here's a little bit about the process architecture, and this ties into FSG as well as myself. Short story, as short as I can make it. I wanted to be a musician. I started as a musician. I was a drummer. I crossed over into music production. I worked in television some. I worked on an infomercial. I worked in reality shows. I worked in talent shows. In the middle of the culmination of all those experiences, good and bad, the ones that paid amazingly and the ones where I lost intensely, it brought together a culmination of an education that's given me my views for today. The things that I'm against, I'm not judging anyone else if they're for them. I just don't believe in them, and many of them I will not stand by. I don't judge Branson for his quote, but in my belief and where I said shame on you, It's coming from a standpoint that how disrespectful can that be taken to someone that is so dialed into their dream, and then they read that one book or they read that one quote and it shifts them off. Yes, we're all responsible for our paths. We're responsible for our failures. I talk about some of my biggest failures and where I got, you could say, screwed over. I was part of the screwing. I allowed myself to believe certain things. I saw certain warning signs, red flags that I didn't pay attention to. And I paid for it. Other times when I was a little bit more strategic, when I was a little bit more careful, it paid off. There were other times even beyond that where it was throw it all at the wind, but I knew it. I knew the risk I was taking. And in those risks, certain ones paid off. I've made the joke in the past that I like working on projects where I know an element of failure, because in that failure, I was able to look at what went wrong, why it went wrong. There's certain projects that have hit wonderful levels of success, but those scare me a little bit at times because I don't know all the exacts of what we did right and what we did wrong. This goes into another level. It's not important about the albums because I'm not even in music right now. I still work some in music, but it's not the number of albums I played on or who I played for. I tell people that if they're going to look at that, to look at the culmination of the work as a whole. And that work as a whole was not this album or this track or this drum fill or how much this album sold, but more so it was hundreds of egos, hundreds of different budgets, hundreds of different levels from the widest array of success to complete failure, hundreds of different opportunities, hundreds of different personas, personalities, teams, ways and styles of communication. I'm not claiming to be any kind of communication expert, but at the same time, I've been around a very wide array of everything from the most egotistical and egomaniacal to the most humble and the most down to earth. And in watching and in learning, that became an impressive tool for me. The first album that I produced musically, I shifted from being a drummer to a producer. I was paid to produce the album. Normally I was brought in to just drum on it. It was a funny and short story that does tie in. I was brought in and the guy said to me flat out, "I want you to produce this." I said, "I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a producer." He did spark me in the back of my mind. It was something I'd thought about, but never had jumped on. And in this case, I didn't think I was ready. He had a great response. He goes, "You've played with and you've played for and you've been hired by some of my favorite producers that I can't afford. I think that you might be able to bring elements of them with the elements of you and everybody that you've worked with in all the different situations and bring that to me for a lot cheaper." I loved his transparency. I loved his candor. I loved doing that album. And it was the first day, it was jitters and it was scary, but at the same time, it worked out really well. And it brought me there. It was the same thing going into TV. I didn't think I had any place in TV till I was dropped right in it. And it made sense. In that, it was the culmination of my education, of my, you could say, determination, drive, motivation to a certain extent, but it was all backed up with information and education. I used to practice 7 hours a day on the drums. I wasn't the greatest by far, but I busted butt to be the best that I could be. And I wasn't putting anybody on a benchmark. I didn't want to be this guy or that guy. I wanted the opportunity to continue to do what I was doing. And one of the things I loved about music was, and as being more of a session player, it was like being a detective. And every album was new. And I respect friends that have been across the board and they've played for bands for years on years on years. That's cool if it works for them. Not my vibe, not my bag. In being able to jump around and experience all these different flavors, sounds, people, that was incredibly inspiring for me. And it brought me to the place where I am now. And in that place, it is relational. It is connecting. It is communicating. And even in the assertiveness of knowing something objectively, it's being humble enough to state it from an opinion standpoint, not going overboard. There are a lot of people out there just screaming. It's the yell, tell, sell. And I don't believe in that. And I don't believe that you have to believe in that. And that ties into what we get ready to say and where we stop and where we don't stop and we don't think. And many people say, I need to, throw it all out there. In a time like today, it's not shifting your story. It's not changing who you are, the root of you, but it's realizing and being humble enough to say, okay, as I present to this person, regardless of business, product, communication, what if 10 people before me said the exact same thing? What if 5 of those people were better than me? What if 5 of those people were worse than me and they all said the exact same thing? Where is your story in that? And if you are regurgitating in your marketing, in your messaging, in your blogs, in your videos, in your anything, if you are regurgitating the same tones, and maybe that feels true to heart to you, but if that consideration is not there for those other people, the walls are going to continue to go up. And the payment of what it will cost in marketing to get that penetration will also go up exponentially. One of the key roots that I see to all of it when it comes to messaging is that messaging is before marketing. And oftentimes marketing is moving you as fast as they can to find the most popular words of the moment to get you and get your product out there. Oftentimes it's building a second floor, a third floor, a fourth floor. And the first floor and foundation haven't even been completed. And in certain ways, they're going to make many of them more money to get you out there and advertising you than they are to getting the foundation underneath you. Because when a foundation is there, I believe when the messaging strategy, when the message, when the story, when it is true, when it is put together to resonate in you, in your reality, in truth, not a truth, but the truth, then take the considerations of the oversaturation of the people that may be using some of the same words, and you're not shifting or changing the story, but you're working on the performance and the delivery, the nuances, the embellishments, so that it is yours and that your story shines through as a melody and doesn't sit in the harmony or unison of anyone else. Even inside of harmony, to have the different tones resonating to showcase authenticity and true authority today, it will, I believe, it will let you stand out. It will let you achieve. It will let you go to places that you may have never thought you could go. And that's not a motivational book, and it's not hype, and it's not hearsay, and it's not an answer to try to draw you into a funnel. One of the other things I have, and I stated right here in the mission statement, I find it disgusting in how certain people will set up marketing campaigns that no one would want to tell the people that they're marketing to, this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it. I believe inside of marketing, it can be moral. It can be honorable. It can stand in integrity, because if you are not prepared to share with every person you're marketing to or every client that comes in how you marketed to them, then maybe there's something just a little bit wrong with that marketing. And if you're going to settle for that, that's on you. That's what you want to do, but I don't want to be a part of that. And I wouldn't want to be a part of any business that chose that. The fullest transparency inside of your story, inside of your authenticity, and inside of your authority is everything today. In a field where people are just going by the wayside, jumping to fear to grab all that they can. Do you really want your business 10x'd? Would that allow you to perform in the way that you want to? Or does your success have its own meaning? Do you need to listen to certain influencers here who are telling you half-truths, quarter-truths, expired truths, and not the full story of how they achieve their success? And then at the same time, many of these speakers, many of them fly by night, that have sat there and hidden part of the story, hidden the budget, hidden the opportunities. It was the same thing. I saw it in music as well. We're just going to tell you what makes for the good story. We're going to pull you in this way. And many of these business coaches do. I've been part of these multi-million-dollar organizations that you're in the family of, that you've never had any experience outside of. People stating, I had this thing. I took this one guy from here to 10 million. He had 1 million. Now, show me an example of you taking someone that has 1,000 to 10 million or 1,000 to 1 million. We are just as much, each of us, to blame for buying into, drinking the Kool-Aid, or subscribing to the hype. And we, as a community, as a society, as a nation, as a world, have to consider to take that step back. And where the promises and their testimonials, which might be flying right in from themselves using different names, it gets very dangerous. When we have that humility, when we work to discover what our story is and where it places, and not just in an SEO standpoint, but from naming a business, to the tagline, to the type of content that will engage. Some of the best content that can be created, that can be connecting, that can be inviting, might be things having nothing to do with anything that you're selling, but more so have to do with you and your story. People are out there, and I listen to a lot of these business coaches, and they're shoving down the throat, they've got to know, like, and trust you. To me, there is no trust like valid integrity authority. Prove you could be trusted instead of asking for trust, instead of playing games, instead of regurgitating Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, and John Maxwell words from scripts. And I'm not knocking all of them, and I understand there are certain coaches, and to be very clear, there are certain coaches that may have gone through one of these programs. And inside of their authenticity, their experience, and their education, the culmination came together, and it allowed them in that certification to pull all the pieces of their integrity, their ability, their experience, their education to become a great coach. But vet those coaches, because for every one of them, there are 100 that just took the course, paid the fee, and are now certified. And that goes across the board with a whole bunch of certifications. When we take that time and have that strategic patience, that humble patience, just as inside in our architecture, when we discover, when we audit, when we strategize off of what we've done, off of what we've learned, when we author our brand messaging and our formats in a palette, where we paint colors to the palette before going to the canvas, unlike so many people that sit there and they dip the brush right into the can, they go right up to the canvas, and it gets crazy. And it's not saying that every single thing has to be perfect, but aligned, defined, building off of a foundation that can continually compound and reinforce, as opposed to crashing down over itself over and over again. When you take into account your authority and don't try to hype it for popularity, it builds. And in that, and coming and circling back to humility, do you need 2,000 likes on a post? Do you need someone to get this many comments, this many views? Or could you see it more as a need to put out the best information, the best content that best represents you in the way that you can represent it, in the best way that can reach people? And maybe in that moment of that day on social media, it doesn't hit. And then it doesn't hit for a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe a year later. That post compounded with everything else becomes beautiful. It becomes real. It becomes authentic, and it compounds in you and allows for constant growth upward without things falling out from underneath them. Scroll down your Twitter, scroll down some of your other feeds. How much are you stewarding information through your story, your authority, your authenticity? Or is it just shifting to try to go to a cell? When we're working there in love and we're not working from fear, people can feel that. People are smarter than maybe you think, or maybe some of these coaches think, in that sense of, well, you've got to say this, and this is how you funnel, and this is what people want. They have no idea what people want. They know that inside of a script, they may have identified certain limited and linear metrics of what people have wanted in the past. But this business world is open, And it's changing. And people in the middle of all the crazy are starting to smart up to the hype. So in that, respect that audience. It's not grabbing the widest net of the most people, but engaging the people that would make your best customers, your best clients, your best connections. And when the time is there to honor them and not treat them like hype and not treat them like they're being funneled and not treat them like a number. Get away from this. Oh, I'm so humbled to have this 5,000 follower on Twitter. How disrespectful could that be perceived for the person that was number 5 to follow you? In this brag to look at me element, even if you are genuinely, organically, truly humbled, stop before you say and think about the reactions. And again, it's not changing your story and it's not shifting to try to win the perception of everybody, because that'll never happen. But in the consideration of the touch points, of the array of the people that you are in the process of trying to reach out to the people that are familiar with you but haven't quite crossed over or connected, and to the people that have just the best experience with you. When that 3-level trifecta, when all of them are being respected, then you're continuing to grow an audience while you sustain an audience, while you honor an audience. In the culmination of everything that I do now, and I'm having more fun doing this than what I did on stage, than what I did in music, than what I did in television or anywhere else. This feels stewarding. This feels like a higher high than being on stage, because there are connections. It's communication. It's not telling someone what to do. It's not winning and going, oh, you didn't do it this way, now you're doing it this way, and look, you're winning, you're successful. It's much more seeing people move toward their belief, their story, their authenticity, the deprogramming, the removing of the toxicity, and seeing that they are valuable, that wherever their experience may be, and whether they're 22 or 62, there is a story that can be told that is absolutely true, absolutely authentic, and can absolutely highlight authority. And to me, if that authority isn't there, if that authenticity isn't there, I don't want to touch it. I won't touch it anymore. I did for a long time. Music and TV, there was a serious lacking of authenticity there. It's beautiful to me to watch someone come in and deprogram from the hype, to still be inspired by the things that may have motivated them in the past, but to make better decisions, to move in humility, to move in clarity, to vet, to practice due diligence, to look for the issues and identify what should not be touched, what maybe here could be hype. It's not about being a pessimist or a narcissist or going to this negative state. It's being protective. It's looking at the levels of compliance. It's looking at the levels of organization. It's not just competitive, it's comparative. And finding the way for the amplification of your story, your authority, your authenticity to shine through. So in this mission statement that's kind of gone, I don't know, a couple different directions, this is who I am, and this is what I believe in. And this is where I believe that working with someone, or even if it's inspiring someone just through content and I don't meet with them, my hope, my wish, prayer for them is that they open their eyes to their story, to their authority, and that they move a step back from the people that are telling them, this is what you say, this is what you do, this is what will make you successful, this is what success means. I think all of that needs to be thrown out the window. I'm not saying coaching is bad. I'm saying the majority of coaches may be leading people in bad directions because they've turned it into a job where they've flipped what should just be motivation into false information, and it's destroying the final positive destinations of many people. And yes, those people are responsible. They want to buy into that. It's on them. But still, it's sad. I believe in messaging, we can tell a story that is our story and not a story or someone else's story. I believe that in some of these methods that have been shared, that yes, they are true, but they're not foolproof and they're not for everyone. I believe that we're coming into a time where we can go much more subjective than we should objective to share what we feel and why we feel it and how we feel it, both from the algorithms online, just to simple communication. When we share what we feel and why we do that, as opposed to this is absolutely this and this is that. There is no such thing as the best drummer. There's no best pizza in New York. There's no best artist. There's no best guitarist. There's no best business coach. And there's no bestseller. Yes, there's no bestseller. And more than 90% of these self-proclaimed bestsellers are not actually bestsellers. These Amazon bestsellers, I talked about that, another thing where people are spending money to look popular because they gave away their book to a whole bunch of robots. And again, I'm not trying to go negative, but do you really need to advertise the book that you created? The love, the honor, the intelligence, the experience, the authority, and move it in stating it's a bestseller on Amazon? Honor your audience, honor your readers, honor your connections. Tell them about the book. Stop using or consider stopping the use of popularity to gain authority and use the authenticity inside of your story to draw people to you. That becomes a lot more true because a lot of people are claiming bestsellers. A lot of people are claiming number one this, number one that, America's best this. That needs to go away, in my opinion. And for the people, people like that. Is that really what you want to do? You want to play a dog and pony show with the people that you want to connect with and you want to engage with? And hey, if that's what you want to do that. I don't want to do it with you. I believe that business is in a shift. I believe that a lot of these snake oil salesmen are being revealed. I believe a lot of facts are being revealed inside of just numerous topics, arrays of topics in the world. And as we come into this time, when you are rooted, when you are planted in good soil, not using toxicity, not using lies, not using people to sell, then you win. And it's not some false, crazy win. It feels good inside. Can you go to bed at night, whether in a positive way, in a negative way, and be proud of what you've done? Would you share that with your children? Would you turn around? We go to this whole thing about the income, so focused on the income as opposed to the outcome of where these clients, of where these opportunities, of what these products are able to do for people. Please consider moving away from the need to, convince the masses, and consider moving to a place where you can share, author, and perform your story to the people that might just want to engage with you, with your story, with your ability and your product. In that humility, in that transparency, in that accountability of you, and inside of the integrity to showcase and share, this is what I do and this is how I reach out, whether it be to a client, whether it be to an independent contract, whether it be to anybody. That to me is harmony. That to me is music. It's beautiful. It's true. It's nothing you have to hide. It's nothing you have to create double speak on. It's nothing that you have to preemptive crisis management on. It's just simplified into the truth, not a truth, not somebody else's truth, but the truth. I'm Loren Weisman. This is my brand messaging mission statement. You've heard the words a couple times. It's more than words to me. It is authenticity. It is authority. It is rooted in transparency and integrity. And in close of this brand messaging mission statement, consider inside of your methods for your messaging to people online, press, anywhere else. Message in love, in honor, in authenticity, in authority. In a state of humility with clarity, message in justice, message with patience, and lastly, message with forgiveness. And in the array of those messaging methods, the resonation will help you will guide you and will connect you to people that are looking for the authenticity, the integrity, and the authority in you.
Wait, what? Really okay?
Okay.